Hello, everyone. Welcome to the network. Welcome to the Two Dads edition.
Wait, that's not it.
Start again.
Two Dads, Gen X edition. That's a great beginning.
Hey, welcome to Two Dads Gen X edition. I am Dawson.
And I am James.
And we'd like to welcome you to today's episode. It is a good one.
Yeah, don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast stuff, but definitely on YouTube where you can see our pretty faces.
Hit that little bell so you get notifications. When
Absolutely.
come out every Tuesday.
Become a subscriber.
Let's-
Let's
Let's
Two
do
Dad this.
stuff.
Shh. No swearing.
No.
There we go. Now you don't want to talk?
Not about my life.
No, but I mean, it brings up like the very first question, when you feel like you are failing, does asking for help feel like weakness to you?
I mean, I think for our generation, and definitely for me, yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to get out of that mindset that you push and be strong and you try to get through everything on your own, and when you do feel like you need help, it's hard not to feel like you failed at something, for me anyway. I think most of us in our generation feel that way, and it's really hard to just go, okay, I can't control it. And I think that's people that are very successful are good at just, like that didn't work, moving on, and they learn those keys to do so.
But why does it feel like a failure if you have to ask for help?
Well, I think it goes back to our expectations. You set these expectations. We're taught a certain way. We're taught this, and this means value or accomplishment. And so I think that's the hard part, is not feeling that way.
Okay. So if your air compressor goes out, or your AC compressor goes out on your truck, do you know how to fix that?
On a newer truck, no.
What about your
old truck? Yeah.
What about your alternator?
Well, I mean, the concept I know, yeah.
Okay. If a pinion bearing goes out in your rear differential, do you know how to fix that?
I'm the kind of person that would find a way.
Okay. But a pinion bearing, you have to, so the pinion bearing requires, I think it's like 250 foot-pounds of torque on the crush nut, the crush washer.
So no.
You have to have a certain amount of play in the rack and or in the differential. If you have too much play or too little play, it affects the way the gears engage, and it can wear the gears out faster, cause a whining, all that kind of stuff, to where it'll destroy your rear differential. Do you know how to do all that?
No.
Okay, so you said you'd figure out a way. How would you find out a way?
I guess I would take it to a shop.
Right. Whether you go to YouTube to figure it out or not.
That's not asking for help.
That is asking for help.
Yeah, that's not the same, though.
No, it is asking for help.
To me, that's not. It's like I don't have it, and I don't have the tools, and to buy all the tools and take the time to do it, I would spend more money and time doing it.
Potentially, yeah.
But that, to me, is not asking for help.
Okay, if
But
you
to me,
don't know
asking for help
something,
is struggling with something you know how to do, but there's circumstances that are making it harder for you to achieve it, to the point that it's bringing you down, beating you down, because
Sure.
you know how to do it. You just, for some reason, can't, because there's barriers
okay.
that are making it 3 times harder than normal. That's the person that has a hard time asking for help, because I know how to do it. I know I can do it, but there's things that I can't control.
No. You know how to do it if everything's going the way that you expect it to.
Manage expectations.
If like your door frame, right? Because how many door frames did you buy?
3.
Okay. Why didn't it work the first time?
Because it's an old fucking house and they didn't frame it correctly.
You expected it to work just the way that you anticipated, and it didn't.
No, I expected the house to be framed correctly.
Right.
I know how to fucking frame a house.
Because you know how. But whoever did it before, whether it's settling or some Joe Schmo who
definitely
built his own
settling.
house, whatever, but it didn't work the first time, or it didn't work the way that you expected the first time. You eventually got to it, so you were successful. It just took a few tries.
But I didn't ask for help.
But it also took more time, cost you more money, and it was more frustrating, right? But you did it.
Yeah, but that's one of those things that I would have spent that much money
If you paid somebody else to do it. And then you wouldn't have to worry about it because somebody else would take care of it.
Actually, I think it would have been way more.
Probably. It would have been like $1,500.
That's like when I had an electrician come because I couldn't figure out the three-way. I'm like, why is this three-way not working? I know what a three-way is. I know how that works. But and he's like, oh, that's a 10-minute fix.
Yeah.
7.5 hours later, and the dude's swearing.
You don't know how somebody did it before. So we have the anticipation of like how it should go, but when it's not working and we have the knowledge, sometimes we have to ask for help because it's not working. We need another set of eyes, right? Sometimes we just flat out don't know.
Well, that I don't mind. Like, if I don't know, I mean, I'll look it up and I'll actually gauge, okay, what do I think can happen? What would go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Will I make it worse? And if I think all those are yes, then I have no problem asking for your help. You know, like in healthcare, like I do not ever pretend or wing it.
Oh, no. People's lives are at risk.
Because I am not prideful. Like, I know on that part of it, I'll ask for help because it's like, oh, I don't know this.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to do it right. But once I know it, I'm good, kind of thing.
But until you get that knowledge.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's other things that, just circumstances and situations that we don't want. One, a lot of it's pride, you know, and
a lot of it's pride.
Work ethic. Like, you notice.
It's not work ethic, just pride.
Well, no, there's work ethic too. Like when it's like you do this, you do it right. A job worth doing is doing it right. You don't cut corners, you know, you get it done. And that's what you do.
Yeah.
Because if you do it right the first time, guess how many people don't have to come and fix it? Like that door frame, if it was done right the first time, I wouldn't have had to do it 3 different ways and basically do it wrong to get it to work right. Now, the person behind me is never going to have an issue with that door.
Yeah.
Because it's done right based on the parameters that I got.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why growing up, anytime we did the corporate retreats, the getaways, I was always the tactician, the problem solver.
Yeah.
Because I was usually the one, even in D&D, like I'm the tactician. I can remember pathways and this and that, and I figure that stuff out. And I'm not so prideful that my way is the only way.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's like, I don't mind stepping back, but those are things that I'm trying to figure out a situation. And if I can't figure it out, then I don't mind asking for help. I think for our generation, it's the stuff that I know how to do it. It's just not working. There's circumstances, which then you can throw that you're being tested out there. And that's when it's hard to ask for help because you do feel like you failed. And that's just negative self-talk. And you're trying to not have that mindset. You have to think about, okay, I can't control this. This curveball was thrown at me. How am I going to do it? And a lot of times you don't know who to ask for help for.
That's very true.
And because there's times that like I've asked for help and I get mocked or made fun of or made to feel that way.
Who would do that?
I can go there. That.
Gotcha.
Well, if you made better choices, you wouldn't be in this situation. Well, you could tell that to every fucking guy that's robbed a bank, a store, done something horrible. Of course, they wouldn't be in this situation if they didn't do that and get caught. But you know, kind of thing. But it really, to me, I think it's the work ethic and the desire. I mean, you look at the people that just suck on the government tit. They were taught that that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's how you get your help is you just give up and let them take care of you. Mm-hmm. And Gen X wasn't taught that way.
No.
You know, we were taught that you push through, you get through it. I really do feel like
work
the
hard
last
to
generation,
figure it out, get it done.
I think these other generations, like, no, you just be more selfish. You just worry about yourself, in my opinion. And I don't care if I screw over Joe Schmo because I got what I wanted and what I needed. And I think that's the mentality nowadays where, you know, in our last episode, we were talking about survivalists and how to get through things.
Oh, I almost had to sneeze.
What are we talking about? Community, building in community, because if you don't, you die, kind of thing. And so that's kind of how I look at the world in general, is if you don't have that support group, the help, the desire, in any work you do in business, like in healthcare, I encourage new grads to ask. Like I'm one of the few people that
That's how
do
you
not
learn.
mock. I don't, and healthcare is sad because a lot of these nurses eat their own and they mock and make them feel bad. And I've seen people quit because of it. And there's no reason for that. It's supposed to be a safe environment, safe understanding. It's like, oh, thank God you asked, because if you didn't, this is what could have happened. And I do educate them on the consequences of not asking.
Yeah.
You know, I had a gal that instead of an art line that they got the blood from to see how the ventilator was working for the patient, she got out of the central line, which is venous blood, which then makes your blood gas look way worse. Now, if you know it's venous blood, then you know the norms for venous, and it would have been semi-equivalent to an arterial, just venous-wise.
Right, you calculate the difference.
But if a doctor thinks, oh, shit, and you made all these changes to the ventilator, some meds, and then it was like 15 minutes later, she's like, oh, my God, they had the wrong label on the art line. What should I do? And I go, what do you think you should do?
Tell them.
And she's like, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm like,
get in trouble.
That's your first
somebody's life.
That's your first mistake.
Yeah.
Being scared of being in trouble, because a brave person will take the consequence.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee the consequence is going to be worse the longer you wait. And it's not just on
that fits
you.
really well with what we were talking about before the episode started.
But not on yourself. It's going to be worse for the patient.
Yeah.
You know, and so could you live with yourself knowing that you fucked up, you found the mistake, and you had the chance to rectify it? I go, could you live with yourself?
And that takes humility.
And she's like, no, but how do I tell him? I go, you simply walk up and say, Dr. So-and-so, I fucked up. I missed, they have it labeled wrong. I pulled the blood out, so I think that was venous. And you actually draw an arterial one. These are the actual numbers.
Yeah.
And I loved the doctor at the time because he was kind of an educator too. And she went and told him, and she's like in tears, and he's like, why are you crying? You did the right thing, because you're not in trouble. No one's going to write you up. Now we're going to do an incident report, which incident reports aren't to like get people in trouble. It's to like, how do we prevent this from happening again?
Yeah.
And it was a great teaching moment because she learned that she's safe to say, I fucked up. She wasn't punished, you know, and it was a teaching moment, but it was also an aha moment because we had like 6 other people in the room.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that she told everybody. and then someone else down the road told her, thank you for being so brave, because I know when I messed up, I didn't feel safe to tell people. And that was the whole point of healthcare, is to get people to feel safe now when there's a mistake. So that way we can correct it.
Yeah, because people's lives at risk potentially.
And it was great because she showed him the blood gas, and it was normal. And he goes, oh, cool. Change everything back.
Yeah, right.
You know, change it all back because we're good. You know, and I think that's the hard part is, one, do you feel safe to ask? Do you have that support system? Do you feel like you can ask? And then 2, are you brave enough to do it? And I think society in general makes people feel like shit when they mess up.
Because everybody makes fun of everybody, but people are bullies. And it's like, we are so quick to judge somebody else for their mistakes that we're afraid to then admit our own, because we don't want to get the same treatment. You know, it's kind of like the golden rule, how to, treating people the way you want to be treated. But we don't do that.
No, well,
I mean, we were taught that. I mean, I remember being told that as a kid, golden rule,
Yeah.
But is asking for help always in association with making mistakes, or can it be associated with something else?
Well, that's the thing, is like, asking for help when we make mistakes is a difficult thing, because we made a mistake, we know about it. But the recognition that we don't know is we have to be humble to do that. You know, if we are trying and trying and trying, and it's not working, and it's not working, and it's not working, at some point you got to say, okay, this isn't working for a reason. How do I fix it?
Yeah.
We don't fix it necessarily by trying again. What's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again without or expecting a different result. If we're trying to do something and we don't actually have the knowledge, even if like there's some small things that get in the way, that's like, well, I should know how to do this, but I've not run into the situation before. Having that humility to then say, I need somebody to guide me, even if it's just like like with the editing of the episodes. I can do just about all of it, but I'm not sure about part of it. And so I ask to make sure that I'm doing those last parts right so I don't screw anything up.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly where YouTube's been great because how many times have I learned how to do something based off YouTube because I couldn't find someone that knew. So I'm like, oh, I'll just look it up here, and I'm like, I get it. What he's talking about. Next one. Oh yeah, that's really good. Oh, I like that. Kind of thing.
I find I ask for help though oft times when I know the answer, I know the solution, I know the process, and I have to have humility because I need assistance on a different scale. So I think that asking for help, or what it means to ask for help, can encompass a couple different aspects there.
Yeah.
Like I have limitations physically.
Yeah.
So I have to ask for help for various things in that regards. There are other scenarios too where you could ask for help. So what else does it mean to ask for help, and where have you encountered that?
Well, I mean, like, so I've got, a bunch of injuries and stuff from the Army and because I push too hard sometimes. And so I'm limited physically. Like I'm renovating my bathroom and I've got all the underlayment and I've got the tile and all that kind of stuff. I am not going to carry that stuff upstairs. I'm not. I could. I'm definitely strong enough to, but if I move the wrong way or if I carry too much at once, it's going to put me down. And so one of the things it has been hard for me is to ask for help physically because I'm so used to being able to, and so I think one of the things that we sometimes will do is we think that by asking for help, we're either weak physically, weak emotionally, weak psychologically, whatever, but that weakness of like, I should be able to, so I'm going to. And then it turns out to cause more problems later on.
And community was one of the most important things from the last episode, reliance upon others. And yet, so often in being afraid to ask for help and being reliant upon others, what's the dichotomy there?
Yeah, good.
Well, I think, you talk about, I got a big pile of junk in my backyard that I know it will kill me to get it all in a dumpster in a day. And so it's like
gallon of gasoline and a match to take care of it, as well as your fence and the neighbor's fence.
Neighbor's yard, the trees, and the power lines. It's fine.
It's fine.
The power go
I
out.
don't know what happened.
Yeah. Just smoking some meat.
But it meets the squirrels and raccoons that have made homes in the pile of wood.
But as we get older, or just in general, lack of knowledge, it really, it comes down to being humble and understanding that I need the help. I'm like, for me, mentally, I kept picking the wrong people, partners, sometimes it's the wrong friends.
Yep.
And it took me to, I'm going to spend this money to talk to a therapist to understand why I'm making the decisions. I think it's accountability and not playing the victim sometimes too. It's easy to play the victim. It's so easy. It's one of those scapegoats, play the victim, blame other people. So a lot of times when you're asking for help, you're admitting that you messed up or you made a bad choice or you just can't do it. And what does that all boil down to? Humility and being humble and self-reflection. And all the times that I've felt better, it's because I did ask for help and got the help I needed. Sometimes I got bad help.
Well, but it's the intention of I reached out for help, but I didn't realize that you're the wrong person for the help because I thought you knew, but you don't, But that's part of that learning process too. And so like one of the things that I think about is like I've always been the sole provider. I've talked about this in past episodes where I'm the one that made the money. We struggled a lot, but my kids were always, they were always small and they tried to help at different times, but they're kids. They can't really help a whole lot. My first wife, second wife, they didn't know how to do some stuff. Like there's one time that I came home from work and my second wife was painting, which is great because we had talked about painting. I think it was like painting our closet and just our bedroom or whatever. And so she was painting and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, but then there were drips on the baseboard and, spots on the ceiling, all stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing? Well, I'm painting. I said, okay, but you're not helping because it's not, it's let me, if I appreciate you jumping in, but it's like, it doesn't help anything if it's creating more work. You know, we got to tape off and mask different spots so that you're not getting paint everywhere. There's ways to paint, and then, you know, rollering and all that, where it like bubbles up and then you get a little white specks through it, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, I learned how to like cut an edge with a brush where I don't need to use tape. And so we talked about it. I said, let me do all the edging and corners and then roller for me.
Yeah.
You know, but let's work together on this instead of just jumping in. And so I think a lot of times when people jump into something without asking for help or without recognizing what their capabilities are and are not, then they feel like a failure because they were trying to get something done that they actually weren't totally capable of doing, rather than making sure that they were doing it right.
Yeah.
Like in the Army, one of the things that I made sure that I tried to do was I had this mindset where it's like, I would rather look like the idiot and ask the question than be the idiot and have to do it again.
Amen.
Well, that's the mindset in healthcare. It's like, I'd rather be judged. You know, if someone's going to judge me because I don't know something, that's on them. You know, at least I didn't put harm towards the patient. You know, I think. I mean, honestly, I think renovating a house teaches so much humility. Because, you know, you can watch a video and like, oh, okay, I can do that, you know, and then people like,
the realization that, okay, maybe I'm really not that patient.
You know, and so like with this door jamb I did, you know, I couldn't just buy one of the simple fold-ins, you know, because it wasn't framed in right. So everything wouldn't work. And so the reason it was broken is because I tripped and the dog fell into it. And because there was so much of a gap that everything was screwed into just shims.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what the hell? And
that's the word you used, right?
well, no, I was just like, oh, damn. I was like, I need to lose some weight because I just almost went right through the door, you know, because it like just totally ripped the whole casing. So it's like I'm having to custom make everything. So it's like, so I bought, you know, I already have a router, so that I got a like, little tool to like help you do the hinges.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like in the past, I just do it by hand. It always kind of look crooked looking, not very clean. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make it look clean, get better at it. So down the road, when I'm doing multiple of these, you know, I can just do it really quick. And so having to redo it 3 times, I got really good at doing that part. But, you know, finding the shims and all that stuff. And so it's just like, since it wasn't done properly, and I'm finding in this house, nothing was done properly. Everything was Band-Aided. And having the work ethic that I would have, that I just want it to be done right so no one else ever has to worry about it again.
Yeah, I do the same thing for the most part.
Because it's like, if I'm going to fix it, I want it to be fixed forever or until I'm dead. You know?
Yeah.
Somebody goes, man, this lasted 100 years. That's pretty good. Because I really do feel like houses in America are made to fall apart.
Yeah, they really
super
are.
fast, super easy. They're dime a dozen. You know, people are like shocked when a house takes 2 years to build. I'm like, it kind of should if it's done right. It shouldn't be done overnight. I mean, there's times when I framed houses, we'd have framed the whole house in 3 days. You know, and it's like, dude, it's like,
the Amish do that, but they work together.
Yeah, but it's also 75 people.
Well, and so like,
and their shit lasts forever.
Yeah, right. But like when it comes to like the idea of asking for help and that weakness where you feel like, not you necessarily, but we feel like we're weak because we have to ask for help. One of the things that, or something that I try to remember, because I get that feeling too, but you know, if I am having trouble with my car, I'm not going to go and talk to an attorney. I'm going to go talk to a mechanic. If I have a problem with my plumbing, I'm not going to go and talk to the lawn care guy. So the weakness is not a lack of knowledge. I think personally, and this is one of the things that helped me get to actually kind of led to me becoming a therapist. But when I was in the military and I recognized I had signs of PTSD, you know, I recognized there was something wrong. So I knew guys that they would just drink, you know, or they would just get angry, or they would, you know, and they had all these problems in their families and in their life, and some of them got kicked out of the military and stuff like that. Where it's like, you know, I didn't want to be tough and destroy my life. And so for me, the mindset is it takes a lot of strength to recognize and acknowledge that you don't know or that you're not strong enough so that you can go to get the help that you need so you can become strong enough and so you can gain the knowledge. That takes a lot of strength to be humble. It takes a lot of strength to be the kind of person that is willing to be ridiculed by others so that you can do things better.
Yeah. I mean, I get to the point where I'm like, I don't care if they think I'm stupid because I don't know something.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't realize to know every single thing in healthcare, you'd be in school for 120 years.
Yeah.
That's why you have specialists.
And then new knowledge would come out, so you'd have to be back in school anyway.
You know, and it's, you know, you look at surgeons like, I don't know how that works. It's like, I can save your life and stitch you up.
I can stitch an artery back onto the heart, but I don't know how to fix your knee.
It's like, but I don't know how that drug works because it's not my field of practice, kind of thing. You know,
how does the dynamic between marriage and relationships and asking for help? What do you guys think about that?
So, yeah, I think a lot of people when they get into marriage, they think that because they're in love, everything's going to work. Love will conquer all, you know. No, it takes work, it takes communication, and we suck at communication. We don't communicate well as people, especially in marriage, because it's so emotional and it's so personal. And so I think when it comes to like marriage and divorce, part of it is also recognizing when it's not working, but when it can't be overcome. I've got clients when I see a couple for the first time, I'm interviewing them. They're not coming to me for me to referee them or anything like that. I'm gauging their relationship, the way they communicate, what their intentions are, to see if I'm even going to work with them, because I'm not going to referee arguments. That is not, there are a lot of therapists that they work with couples and that's what they do. I'm not one of them. If you want to work on stuff, I can teach you the skills on how to overcome the problems that you have for the most part, if you're willing. But it takes skills and it takes work. And so to not do that, to just be angry, to just blame the other person, I think is horrible weakness. We have to be reflective.
Yeah. And so how do you help one another? How does asking for help pertain to a healthy marriage?
Recognizing what we don't know. And obviously if there's something getting in the way, kind of like with the door frame, right? You should have worked the first time, but something, it didn't work. The third time's a charm, right? Maybe that's what it'll be in marriage. I don't know. We'll see. But like in a relationship, you can tell when something's not working because you're arguing, you're angry, you're resentful, you feel depressed, you feel sad, you're not connecting. Things are not working, right? And obviously, if it's still that way, you don't know how to fix it. And if you are trying to have a good marriage, a good family, all that other stuff, you're trying to build it, and you do believe that the person that you're with can create that life with you, but it's just not working, guess what? It's time to ask for help.
And also, the person you ask for help
matters.
Shouldn't be, matters 100%. Shouldn't be your single best friend that just got a divorce.
No.
She's only going to give you bad advice. It shouldn't be your buddy that's this bachelor that's going around screwing everything because he's going to give you bad advice. It shouldn't be the married couple that looks like they're happy because behind closed doors, you have no fucking clue what their life is. I personally think the only person you should go for advice when it comes to your partner is a therapist, because you don't want your laundry out to other people because people love misery. And so if they see you as this power couple and happy and doing great, and you come to them like, I'm miserable and I hate my life, sadly, a lot of people are going to like, oh, really? Oh, really? Oh, tell me why he's horrible.
Yeah.
Not, well, why do you think it's bad?
Do you hear why she's saying that you're horrible?
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where like what James is saying is like, you have a therapist, like, I'm not going to manage arguments. I'm going to help you understand, what are you doing wrong? What are you doing wrong? And why are you guys not able to communicate? And how can we get you to communicate better? So you both can see each other's point of view. And that's
part of that communicating better, just helping one another. So
it always comes down to communication.
Yeah. Always.
So part of helping one another is communicating effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of a therapist, in a worst case scenario where you're not communicating, what is healthy communication helping a marriage? Like, I don't know if I...
So healthy communication in a marriage is recognizing that hey, you did something that bothered me. First and foremost, I need to understand why I got bothered by that. If I don't know why I got bothered by that, how am I supposed to resolve it? I have to figure out what's wrong, right? My feelings are my responsibility. Just because you said something doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that I reacted to it. So my reaction is my responsibility. That takes humility. And then being able to communicate, hey, when you did this, this is what it made me feel like. This is why I felt this way. Because of past relationships, or because my dad or my mom or money or whatever else. But it's like, it's not the person's fault that I reacted. It's my fault I reacted. I just need to figure out why I reacted so that we can talk about, do we change the process? Do I work on me? Do you become more patient? Maybe it's the person changes how they say something so that it's not so triggering, but it's not their job to stop triggering me. It's my trigger, right? Yeah. And so when we ask a therapist for help, ideally, if it's a good therapist, they're helping you identify those things, working through them, or telling you like, hey, this is a personal thing that you need to work on so that it can help your marriage. And so you go to do your own therapy, like especially for trauma and stuff like that. But the therapist is going to help point out why there's a breakdown and help you process differently so that the breakdown isn't happening as much. There's a couple that I have that they're both in.
The key is if your therapist isn't doing that, then they're not a good therapist.
And they're just not a good therapist for you potentially, or they suck.
Well, because we've had therapy where they supported it, like, well, you made them feel bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, you need to change how you do it because you're making them feel bad. I'm like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just speaking truth and what's out there, and they're reacting based on the truth. I mean, maybe my approach was bad and helped me learn to communicate that approach better, but don't tell me not to communicate.
And
how it made me feel, because then you're telling me to shut the fuck up because you don't want to hurt their feelings, and that's not helpful either.
Yep.
And I think learning those things and understanding it, and when you ask for help, it's like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you help communicate that? And the sad thing is the other flip side of that is if you have someone that is coming to you and saying, hey, when you did this, it made me feel this way. I want to understand. And they start ridiculing it or throw it back in your face. Mm-hmm. Well, sorry you felt that way. Obviously, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. So maybe you need to think differently. So then they start to feel like they're not safe to come to the person they're supposed to fucking feel safe to. Because, like, again, we've said, it's you're as a couple against the world, not you against each other, kind of thing. And so if you're getting to the point where you don't feel safe to communicate to your partner, guess who you're going to go to? Friends that don't support your relationship.
Well, and guess what you're going to stop doing? Communicating with your partner. Yeah. So, and that happened in both of my marriages. First marriage, first year, first couple months, I'd come home and I'd, stressed and reacted badly to my oldest daughter, just misbehaving or something like that. Later that night, I'm sitting there with my wife at the time, and I said, I'm really sorry for the way I acted. I'd already apologized and stuff, but I'm really sorry for the way I acted. I'm under a lot of stress. This is what's going on at work. And she goes, why are you making it about you? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you're just making it about you. It's not about you. It's about what you did. I was like, well, I'm trying to explain, what the stress is that I'm under, and she's like, no, that's being selfish. You're just making it about you. You're trying to distract from what happened. I'm like, and so what did I learn? I learned I cannot talk to you about the things that I'm stressed about because you're going to twist it into I'm the problem. And I agree that the behavior wasn't great, but come on, right? And so we didn't communicate very well. One of the things that happened in my second marriage, that this is probably the pivot point when I realized that we couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. We were talking about something, and she brought up something I had said about a month before, a month before, something like that.
Reflection.
Well, and so I said, I never said that. And she goes, yeah, you did. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? You wrote it down? That's where we are? Because that's like one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse for Gottman, that kind of thing. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? You wrote down something that I supposedly said so you could hold it over my head later on. That's what you did. I'm done. I'm out. That was in my head. I'm like, if this is where we are, then I'm done. Well, and she didn't have it written down. She'd written something else down. And it's like, it all comes back down to communication, and when you go to therapy, what you're asking for help in is not to get your partner to side with you. If that's what you're going to therapy for, and I've had clients where, they came in because their spouse pushed them to go to therapy. And then, after a couple of months, it's like, I recognize that their spouse wants me to fix their partner for them.
Yeah.
It's like, no,
it doesn't work either.
That's not how this goes. That is not how this goes.
Well, we just shifted to marriage, but it goes both ways. I mean, if you're in an environment and you go ask for help and you get ridiculed and made fun of and basically told you're stupid because you should know that. Didn't you learn that in school?
Yeah.
I mean, my first job out of nursing school, I mean, I got bullied so bad because the girl was 22 and she's my preceptor, and she's trying to compensate because I was older and I knew more than her. But I didn't know cardiac surgery, so I was learning from her cardiac surgery, and so they don't teach you all the different wound care equipment in nursing school. You don't learn all that stuff. It's just like, here's a 4x4 and gauze. That's all you learn. And all the colleges, no college teaches they teach you how to stage a wound and how to gauge where it's at. They don't teach you all the awesome things we have to treat wounds, gaping holes and stuff. And that was her go-to line. Oh, did Avalon not teach you that? Must not be a good school then.
See, that's somebody who's just arrogant as
And I'd go, no, but can you tell me a blood gas and what you do to compensate for, to just throw something mild out, right out there?
Yeah. She hated that, didn't she?
She's like, well, that's not what we're talking about. I'm like, that's my point. You don't know it. You're here to precept me and teach me, not mock me and make me feel like shit. And it's just like, and that's so sad how it happens.
It does. It happens in marriage.
Yeah.
It happens at work. It happens. Yeah.
And I think that's the sad thing is the companies that do really well is they have an amazing support system. They have amazing preceptors.
Culture. They have a great
culture.
Of families too.
Yeah.
Yeah, families too.
The family culture, right? One of the things that I did with my kids when I got custody, they're the ones that made the rules. But I also told them, I said, if the rules at any point are not working and you think they should be changed, we'll have a family meeting and we'll talk about it. And if I think that it's a valid something that we need to change, then we'll change it. And we did that a few times.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things my kids have expressed is that they appreciated that I would actually listen to them. And, there are times where I didn't agree and we kept the rule, but, and it was, but that idea of I'm not domineering as a father telling you what to do with your life. It's, we're working together to create a culture so that you guys grow up well, so that I can provide for you and teach you, but then you get out and you don't screw up your own lives.
So I think the takeaway is, know who you can ask for help from. Recognize when you need it. It's going to be hard, and you don't need to be ashamed.
Have the humility.
Asking for help when it's the right time, the right way to ask for help is the strength.
Yeah.
And it's hard as our generation because, I did, man. Like my mom, dude, she worked 3 jobs, refused to go on welfare. She, got to the point that down the road, all of us would pitch in and help pay. And we worked as a family and
which is beautiful.
But it taught us all how to not suck the tit of the government, but also to be dependent on ourselves. And sometimes to a fault, too much so.
Yeah. And that's the part of the hard part is learning that balance of, because I'm very, very independent, very self-sufficient. I mean, even my son gets after me for not asking him for help for stuff. And I tell him, I was like, no, I appreciate you asking and I will, but I've had to do so many things for myself for so long. In some ways, I don't know how to identify when it's appropriate to ask for the help on these certain things, because it's not like I can't do it. I can. But he wants to help me. He wants to help step in and make things a little bit easier for me and stuff like that. And I love him for that. Not for that only, but I love that about him. But it's one of those where it's like, I I'm not at that point yet where I need help for a lot of stuff. But he is right. I do need to ask for help more. And so I'm trying. I'm trying to humble myself enough to do that a little bit more.
Mental health too, right? Like it takes the strength of a warrior to ask for help.
Yeah.
I think honestly the best way we could get rid of homelessness is helping them help themselves. And
that's the whole purpose of
they
the
don't
help.
want to do that. They don't want to fix. They don't want to help.
Some of
people
them do,
help
but most of
themselves.
them.
No, I don't mean them. I mean
Yeah.
like, to me, homelessness is such a racketeer and such a money laundering thing.
Yeah.
Because I've seen programs at work, Homes for Vets, where you build tiny homes and you teach them, and they always have the resources to fix whatever they need.
Yeah.
And the great. I mean, like with TB, they're like, hey, what's the number one barrier? Getting to the clinic to get our drugs. Well, to capitalize TB, it's like 9 months, I believe.
What's TB?
Tuberculosis.
Oh, tuberculosis. Okay.
to get it capsulized so it doesn't spread. So the goal was let's have this mobile unit that just basically hits all these homeless towns to make sure they get their meds and stuff like that. And you'll see that with the vaccines and nursing programs we developed for immigrants when they were working the farms and stuff like that. We would actually go there, do physicals, ask them what they need to help, start the citizen process.
Yeah.
And, we'd help provide that. And then we had a law firm that would actually, as long as they were following the laws, coming in legally and following the regiment. I mean, we have people that were here for 6 months and get their citizenship.
Yeah.
They came in legally and followed the process, but we helped them do it because they had no idea how to do it.
And that's the thing is like the help is not to save somebody. It's not to do it for somebody. It is to give you the enough of the foundation that you need so that you can then do it.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
And I think some people think that, if I'm asking for help, they're just going to take over and do it all for me. And that's not teaching you anything.
Yeah. Or that asking for help means that I don't know anything. And I do know how to do a lot. I just am struggling with, the help is to fill the gap. That's what it's for. So it's not weakness. Insurance. What's that?
It's like gap insurance.
It's like gap insurance. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Another racket.
Cobra.
So,
anyway.
yeah. So, Dawson, ask for help, dude.
All right. I could expect you in my house to fix that dumpster right now.
Yeah. I mean, I helped you with that one wall. I can help you with the other ones. Yeah. We just gotta plan it out. So let's do it. Let's get it done.
You need a hug, Jason?
I need a hug. Can I have a hug, Dawson? I need help. Can I have a hug?
All right, guys, reach out. I think we do plug therapy a lot.
Yeah,
because
I'm a therapist, so
not because he's a therapist, but we definitely see the value because sometimes you just don't know what you need help with. Don't be afraid.
You don't know what you don't know. You gotta ask.
The starting point could also just be your spouse. That communication.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go to a professional therapist always, but
if you're not fixing it on your own and you keep on running the same problems, stop being insane and ask for help.
Well, and spouses, if your partner's coming for help and they rarely ask for help,
actually help.
Sit down and just let them just listen.
Yeah.
Listen to them, help understand them.
Yeah.
Don't think they're weak. Don't freak out because that's just them showing humility and weakness
and trust. It shows trust, especially from a man. If a man is opening up emotionally about something, that means he's trying to trust you, and the way you respond to that is going to teach him that he can or cannot trust you moving forward. So don't screw it up.
Your marriage will be much stronger.
All right, have a great week, Dawson.
Stay classy, Kansas City. Good job, James.
Thanks, Dawson. You too.
Did great. You know what?
So good.
Thanks for joining us and giving us your time. That's very precious. We appreciate you guys. Hit that like and subscribe button. Ding that little bell so you get notifications when we have new drops every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
And check out our dad jokes.
Yep. Make sure you comment. Let us know how we're doing.
Appreciate it.